All right. I'm just doing some final sound check stuff on my end. But I think we are good to go and live. So let me jump over to the jam stream layout and we will go ahead and get started. All right. I think what I'll do for now, while I sort of do a bit of an intro and sound check specifically, since I always want to make sure my loop settings are good and you folks can hear me. Sour Lad's here. Sour Lad says, "Hello, beatboxers. I'm going to stay till my battery dies." No worries, Sour Lad. Welcome to the jam stream. I'm glad you can make it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put like a really simple beat in the background because I wanted to do a little bit of an intro and talk about some stuff for the channel. So let me just do something. Let's see, maybe something like. I just want to put that in the background just so there isn't absolute dead silence while I'm talking. Starlet says, "Let's go affiliate. Congratulations." Thanks, man. That's one thing I wanted to talk about just as a sort of intro to this and kind of a thing for the record if people happen to watch the archive footage for this later. Since people tend to come and go and people coming in later are going to miss this. Like Sour Lad is mentioning, also, as another aside, I won't maybe mention it again when more people swing through, but Sour Lad has officially been promoted to mod. He has been given mod privileges here after I have witnessed his work and his prior experience modding for Wazzy. And so, congratulations are in order for Sour Lad too. I trust all of you to listen to him or suffer the wrath. Oh Lord, that is incredibly loud. I need to mess with my sub alert command. But I see that Wazzy subscribed to the channel. Thank you, Wazzy, and thank you for testing my alert. I really do appreciate it. I'm still in the process of finalizing things like the subscriber tier emote, but Wazzy has demonstrated that one of them works. And let's see, Wazzy says she couldn't hear things. That's interesting because the actual notification is working. And the little message popped up in the corner for elements, and it was loud. It was incredibly loud in my ear. That's interesting. Oh, Iconic's here. Iconic says, "Hi, can't stay, but hope you have a great stream. Raku, much love, bud." Thanks, Iconic. Thanks for popping in. Always appreciate you stopping by. Well, that's interesting. Sour Lad, since you're on stream as well, could you hear the sub notification? It is loud, for one, and two, it's kind of a long sound clip. If you couldn't hear it, I may have to go figure out why, because it's showing up on the OBS readout, and I could hear it. But I'm still learning stream elements, so I'll have to figure that out. I know the follower alerts work. Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear the bingle bangles. I will look into that at some point later and see. In fact, I might be able to look in Elements now and see if there's a setting I need to flip. We know the source is working, so that's good. Let me take a look real quick. Settings, subscriber alert. Change image, set video. Okay, I'm gonna put the sound down to like 30%. Alert duration. Oh, that's the seconds. I wonder if I emulate it now, if you folks can hear it. I think I'm gonna get an echo because it's gonna do it both in the Stream Elements page and also on OBS. But let's see. Oh yeah, it says preview live on stream. So tell me, for folks watching, if you're able to hear this, if I just emulate like a single subscriber. That's still really loud in my ear. Could you guys, as I had Stream Elements up, could you see the animation pop up on screen? Because I was looking at the readout on my other screen here. Did it show the animation? Okay, Wazzy says didn't hear anything. All right, so the animation popped up, but you couldn't hear the sound. Okay, I will look into that at some point. Hey, first time chat from Bits Dancing All Night. What's up, Bits Dancing All Night? Welcome to the jam stream. All right, so no noise, but the animation worked. Edward says, didn't hear it. Also, the emote thing was horrifying. And Sourlat says, bottom right corner. Yeah, okay, so the animation is working, but not the sound? Hey, Wazzy gifted a tier 1 sub to Matt. Thank you, Wazzy. I need to set a gifted sub notification up. I haven't done that yet. I'm probably going to set it up to be the same as far as the animation and sound clip. I could hear the sound clip from the sub alerts, the same sound. Okay. Thanks for the feedback. I will make sure and take a look. And I did see that Iconic way back had redeemed Hydrate. So I'll make sure and take some extra water sips. Oh, I need to get in the habit of taking a look at the top of the readout in OBS. Bits Dancing All Night redeems swear timer. Well, that would be a good chance to demo that. And I should be able to just put it on for 5 minutes, and now you can see it. I learned a lot about OBS and stream commands in the last week. And since, thanks to all you folks, I hit affiliate a bit faster than I originally planned, I had to quickly get a bunch of things like the graphics and redeem stuff ready and loaded so that when I went live today, there would be something for you to interact with. So it looks like the redeems are working good. All right. I will be thinking of some other ones to add in the meantime, but they're are a decent amount of ones to start off. So it looks like all that stuff is working. Bits Dancing All Night says, man, I wonder who could have done that. Yes, who could have possibly enabled a swear timer right at the beginning of the stream? I have been thinking about Swear Timer Plus, like an equivalent that Wazzy does on her streams and when I have co-hosts, but I haven't quite decided if I'm going to do that yet. Just because I know my co-hosts all have a tendency to swear, and I don't. So if I did do that, then they would basically suffer and nothing would ever happen to me. So the swear timer redeem is kind of there as a meme. I see Bits Dancing All Night redeemed another one. Yeah, you could do that as much as you want, but it's really there as a joke. The more fun stuff is a little bit higher in cost. So for Bits, if Bits Dancing All Night specifically, if you want to just do that constantly, you can. But it's mostly just a joke redeem, and I'll reset the swear timer afterwards. Like if your goal is to just have that one account do nothing but swear timers, you could do that, but you don't have to. I will put a cooldown on it eventually. I need to remember to do that too. In fact, I'll probably put like a half-hour cooldown on it, since again it's kind of a joke and I don't want to be constantly toggling a timer on and off. Whoa. Lion Tamer just subscribed. Hey, Lion Tamer. Thanks for the subscription. And I see the alert worked. Again, I can hear the sound, but I'm assuming you folks can't. So, again, yeah, I will make a note to try and troubleshoot that after today's stream. But yeah, thanks, Lion Tamer. Welcome to the Jam stream. Naked Snake says, it's a good thing I have 8 alternate accounts in total. Yes, everyone should fear the legion of snake alts. Lion Tamer says, huh, first time I've ever had a founder's badge. I always wondered what the first badge was for. Yeah, I'm working on some custom badges for things like the follow and whatnot. I haven't gotten to that yet, so I am working on it. And Snake says, yeah, we still can't hear the noise. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm glad the emote pops up. Sourland says, oh no, Snake can rig polls. Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna trust Naked Snake to not abuse his power too much, but yeah, if we have a legit poll for something, and let's say there's a big mix of people here, I am going to just say if it's for something, considerable, and we got a mix of people here, try not to just take all your alts and dogpile one poll thing, because that's no fun. Snake says that would be too much a hassle to do that. We could test out poll. Mods can see if they can do it, but let me see if I can do it, since I've never initiated a poll first. Should be /poll, right? Let's see. What does this menu look like? Do I have to do /poll and then give it a title before it pops up? Let's see if we can do a test. I don't think if I do /poll test, what does it do? Yep. All right. What would the question be? I want to put something that you folks would have an opinion on. Let's try this. Let's do this. Let's see if it pops up for you folks. We'll do a 1 minute poll. 3 choices. I see Lion Tamer was reading my mind. This is just a poll on the fruit itself, not the pizza debate, since I'm tired of having the pizza debate. It's too bad it doesn't tell me who voted. Also, I see Wazzy says, is Raku a nerd? Obviously, Wazzy said I'm a pick me. Well, yeah, I put your name on there just because it's the wrong opinion. And it was funnier than putting no. Alright, well, looks like poll works. I just have to do /poll and then call it something. And then it gives me the menu to actually enter choices. I will think of some ways to work with the poll command. It's not really going to be probably a thing today, unless we come to some sort of crossroads on the BGM side, but it's good to know it works. And let me see. I can go ahead and tweak the mod settings to 1 sec. Let's see. Is it on the individual mod roles? Okay. Let me see if I can figure it out. If not, I'll do it later. Where does it let me customize what mods can do? Roles. Thought it would just be like a drop down per person, but it does not look like it. Hey, I see. It says Matt is continuing the gift sub they got from Team Toxicure. What does that mean? Does that mean you're gifting it to somebody else? I've never seen that notification before, like on another stream. But if you're here, Matt, welcome and thank you. I get to learn about what all these notifications mean as well, since I've never seen them before. I will look into the mod privileges thing later. I don't want to take up time on today's stream with just the admin stuff. I could talk to Wazzy or Sour at some point later. Matt says it means I'm going to keep my monthly sub up. Wazzy just paid for the first month. Oh, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it, dude. And I don't know what the additional alert was for. But yeah, I do appreciate it. But yeah, I'll probably have to pick one of your brains about the mod privileges stuff later, just to make sure, because I want to give you the poll command too. And then one thing I also need to do, which will be on my information page, is a list of the commands. I've been working on that. It's not done yet. Right now, I think exclamation point rules and exclamation point Twitter are the only noteworthy ones that I've got that mods should be able to put in chat. So you can try and test it if you want. Hopefully the formatting and everything else is legible, since I don't think I've tested it on stream. It's tested in the chat. Okay, Wazzy did the Twitter one. Twitter command works. I want to do a general all social links command. I was working on that last night, but the formatting is all weird in Elements, and I need to figure out why. Because I'd rather have it just be like Twitter, YouTube, maybe Bandcamp, all in just one command. But when I do that, because of the links, it's weird. So I'll figure that out. But for now, the Twitter command works, and then the rules one should work. Naked Snake says, "Oh my god, I just scrolled down and seeing the art Pink did of you and Matt. Yes, it is glorious. Make sure you folks show some love to Pink whenever they're around, because that was unsolicited. It was an idea that came up in the God Hand stream. I didn't see it, and Wazzy did. And Wazzy encouraged Pink to flesh out the concept, and then they sent it to Matt and I on Friday. And it's glorious. That's where Matt and I's new profile pictures came from. So yeah, make sure to shout out Pink when you get a chance. It's pretty glorious. It does perpetuate the slutty Raku meme, but I will make an exception for God Hand related stuff because God Hand is awesome. Lion Tamer says, "I hate how some Pokemon in Legends Arceus need to be fed or caught in specific ways instead of having them fight." The only things I know about that game are via watching Wazzy play it. But it seems like a very unusual Pokemon type game. Edward is saying, are you talking about the artwork, Edward? You think the artwork's cursed? I think it's great. For those who might not know the reference on the art that everyone's talking about from Twitter, it's of myself and Matt in costumes from God Hand. I'm wearing Jean's carnival costume, and Matt is wearing Olivia's bunny outfit, which are from the New Game Plus unlocks after you beat the game. And it's pretty hilarious. But yes, so additional research on the stream stuff to be learned and researched later. And I'm going to take the timer off. But I think that's it for the admin stuff. I just wanted to, mention that some new stuff is kind of coming in the works, and also to thank all of you for all the support in getting me to affiliate. It happened in a little more than a month, which is blazingly fast. I expected to maybe hit affiliate here on Twitch after starting in maybe a year. I didn't think it would happen in the first, month and change, which is great because I really want to implement things that'll be fun for you guys to use on stream. The monetary aspect doesn't really draw me that much. It's a nice bonus, but really it's all about community here. So again, thank you. And thanks to Wazzy for the majority of the folks that came from her community. You folks are a real chill group, and I'm glad we can sit and meme around and have fun. Naked Snake says, for some reason Matt looks better in the bunny girl outfit than you in Jean's outfit. I agree. Matt is rocking a level of confidence that far exceeds mine, and his pose is hilarious. Snake says, I meant to have sped up that process by a week. Yeah, I do want to shout out Snake for the alt onslaught, which we've seen on other streams as well. So thanks for doing that, Naked Snake. Again, hopefully nothing with Twitch's account creation gets you in trouble for doing that, but I do appreciate the final push. And now I need to get in the habit of parsing out the Snake alts. Sour says, it was nice meeting you, Raku. You should thank Wazzy for introducing us to you. Oh, yes. I thank Wazzy every once in a while just for the opportunity to meet her community and get to do all the stuff we get to do, like our collab streams and everything else, because it's been a lot of fun. I do enjoy content creation, but being able to sit down with other people and sort of bounce ideas and personalities off each other is infinitely more fun. So, yeah, I do appreciate it, and you guys need to continue to show Wazzy love, because she fosters a really good attitude despite being a tsundere gremlin most of the time. Sourlad says, so it's just Raku and Bunny Suit Guy? Are you going to canonically change Matt's name from Red Shirt Guy to Red Bunny Suit Guy? I don't know, man. Edward says the size difference, though. Well, I still think it should be faked Snake. Snake says, I think I might finally retire from the alternate account business. Walsey says, to Edward, allegedly, I am 5 feet. That is true. I am 5 feet tall. I am very short, which is why the comparison between us in Pink's rendition is accurate, because I've never met Wazzy and Matt in real life, but I'm pretty sure Matt would tower over me. Lion Tamer says, oh god, I just looked at your Twitter and saw the art Wazzy made of you being submissive and beatboxable. Oh yeah, that was my profile picture before the one Pink did. Just the headshot from that fireplace art. Shoutouts go to whoever in the chat originally coined that submissive and beatboxable tag, which I still need to change in Discord. Sarlet says Tiny V. Yeah, like I said, we have fun here. Okay. I think that's it for the business end stuff. Again, thanks to all you folks, and I hope you enjoy your stay. Let's turn the background beat off. And let me talk a little bit about what I want to do for today's stream. So for today's jam stream, we aren't going to be placing as much of an emphasis on beatbox sound theory and practice stuff. I'm going to do a bit of warm-up just so I have some blood flowing in the different parts of my face muscles. And then we'll spend a little bit of time with that, but I'm not going to dedicate a lot of time to talking about technique unless you folks have questions on stuff. And at any point, feel free to drop questions in the chat about anything that I'm talking about or anything I'm doing. But we're going to primarily be spending time working on BGM creation ideas today, because last time we did it, we had to cut it a little bit short. And today I don't have as pressing of a schedule. So I would like to spend some time brainstorming ideas for BGM tracks to use in upcoming content. And that'll be the primary focus, and we'll see what sort of comes up amongst all you folks in chat. Sarlat says, I started the trend, but I don't remember who made the art request. If you're talking about the slutty Raku fireplace one, that was Iconic Boar. Iconic's legacy is quickly becoming cemented as the guy who helped perpetuate the idea that I'm a man whore, which is funny, and I don't mind it because it's a funny meme. But yeah, he requested that in Wazzy's art stream, and she drew it, and then she put like the fireplace background later. and then I took it and turned it into the fragrance ad thing that I think we're mentioning further up. Lion Tamer, yeah. The one Lion Tamer's talking about, I'm assuming, is the fragrance one. And Lion Tamer says, but that's just a theory. A beatbox theory. We can't invoke the name and rights of Matt Pat, or Matt will become upset with us. Naked Snake says, I'm known for two things now. Alternate accounts and tokusatsu. Yep, that is your legacy, Snake. Our resident tokusatsu / Kamen Rider expert and commander of alts. Alright, so let us do some warm-ups, and then we will segue into working on some ideas for BGM stuff. So let me go and grab my headphones. Sour Lad says, welcome to Music Theory, Beatbox, and FNAF Music Man. Snake says, funniest thing is this all started because someone made MILF and cheese and thought it was me for some reason. Huh, that's weird that MILF is censored. I need to look at the censored words thing too. That's also on my list of things to figure out. But I thought that alt was you, but if it wasn't, then who could it be? Honestly, we need a wiki page just for all of the different alt accounts. Oh, Sourlat says Froggy made MILF and cheese. Really, it's his fault. He was the person that sowed the seeds of the idea that became Frogmageddon. Interesting. Really, he's got no one to blame but himself then. All right, let's do some warm up. Get started. Oh, Sarlet says Froggy made the concept MILF and cheese. Yeah, I knew that, but that's not his alt account. I'll bet it is. Maybe it is. We don't know. We may never know. And had Naked Snake not said anything, we might have never connected the alt legion to him. But let's go ahead and get started. One thing I want to do at some point, I don't know, I don't know if I'd make it a redeem or just like a challenge thing, but I kind of want to do like an endurance challenge for beatboxing just to see how long I can continue to improvise and freestyle a continuous beat, since it's not something I've ever tried before. I know the Prince did I think he did the Amen break for 1 hour on stream once because he's nuts, but I think it'd be interesting just to see how long mentally I could keep doing a beat and switching things up and improvising and working in sounds and whatnot. I think that'd be an interesting challenge. And I see Snake's responding to different switch up things like the speed and tempo switches. Thanks, Snake. Appreciate it, dude. Just noodling around and warming up. Kind of one of the things that's key for beatbox technique when warming up, in addition to sort of getting into the habit of breathing and making sure you're getting airflow, is also doing sounds that are going to work out different parts of the face, and doing that involves mixing up things like snares and whatnot, or bass type sounds, because they all work the face muscles differently. So like you heard me do the PF snare, the sounds like it's like a regular snare head hit. That's primarily lips and where it comes out from on the face. But the BGM or spit snare, that really sharp clap type snare, it's the same part of the lips, but it focuses on sort of the middle because it's really tight and burst heavy sound. And so doing something like a type beat works your face muscles differently than like a, because again the heaviest muscle exertion is not exactly the same. So switching between all those works all of the face muscles differently. Likewise, lips and lip strength, things like a lip roll, my follower alert sound, the dry lip roll, works the muscles differently than a sub bass low lip roll, inwards lip roll, or a. And a lot of it just is mixing up the technique to make sure you're working out different parts of your face in order to get warmed up sort of uniformly instead of just one specific section. Sirelad says, want to make it a channel goal, X amount of channel points for endurance stream? Yeah, we could do that. I can look at setting up a challenge type thing like that. Maybe after today I'll think about that, since I do want to vary up the types of jam stream stuff I do, and doing kind of like an endurance one would be fun. It'd be it'd be quite difficult. But yeah, good idea. I will file that away and we'll make that a possibility for content in the future. So I saw there was a thing, I think I have to do it from the channel points menu, where I can set up a community challenge. Right. I don't know what would be a reasonable goal though. Maybe like 100,000 points or something, because it essentially take up an entire stream's worth of content. So I'll give that some thought. Yeah, I think it's called like community challenge. I'll take a look. I saw it when I was tweaking all of the redeem settings and all the other stuff. So all right, I think the warm up is more or less good. If we're going to be focusing on loop stuff today. It's not super critical because I'll be making sounds and whatnot as we start constructing stuff and kicking ideas around. But it's also good to just not go in 100% cold. So I think that's good. I was looking up and down at the audio readout. I think everything audio-wise is good. You folks can let me know if any of my sounds specifically are peaking too high, but usually it's the PF snare that I need to avoid pointing directly at my mic. And then the spit snare, that I need to make sure I'm angled slightly away so you folks aren't getting like red line sound. I did see Snakehead reference further up that Mardi Gras break is ending. So I'm assuming you get like a week off in February around like the Mardi Gras celebration. Snake says, so far I've been enjoying Mardi Gras. It's been pretty fun. Been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In a PSP emulator and also watching Kamen Rider and Super Sentai and a little bit of Ultraman. Nice. I have never been in Louisiana during New Orleans. I think it's be a bit too crazy for me. But I know people tend to observe the festivities rather passionately in New Orleans. And on topic of content you were watching, the only content for Ultraman I've seen was the American adaptation they did in the 90s, I want to say. I think it was called like Ultraman Towards the Future or something. And I have no idea if it was a 100% unique product or something that was like Power Rangers adapted from Japanese footage and given like an American cast or something. But I remember liking the monster designs. I do think the kaiju designs in Ultraman are pretty cool. Naked Snake says, it's pretty fun and also pretty easy way of getting free plastic cups. Edward says, how many titties have you seen during your break? And Snake says, that's only during adult Mardi Gras. Yeah, Edward, we can't necessarily assume that everyone is 21 or older. That is true. Salad says, ever played the Yu-Gi-Oh game that's with dice and unfolding boxes? What is this? 5 of a titty? And Naked Snake says no. What is this? 1 5 times? There you go. Like I said, people are very passionate about their partying. All right, let me take a look at the loop here. We can take that off, clear everything out. Naked Snake says, even though we're considered one of the dumbest states, I would never leave this one. I don't know, man. There's quite a bit of competition for dumbest state when it comes to the US. Kind of depends on what you're talking about. But if you mean like statistically as far as education wise, that's not necessarily the only factor. Halsey says, have you not met New Jersey? Yeah, that's why I say it kind of depends. Snake says, our schools? Yeah, that's the statistics side, but fortunately, other parts of the states, culturally and governmentally, in a lot of cases, can take the reins as far as being dumber outside of the statistics. Heck, even my state's guilty of doing dumb things every once in a while, but it's all a matter of perspective, really. All right, let's see. I want to do some experimenting today with a little bit of a different form of construction for these BGM loops. And it's something I haven't really messed around with a ton, which is why I want to use today's stream as sort of an experimental testing ground. And let me go and update my caption. we're going to call this BGM brainstorming. And specifically, one thing I want to mess around with is the idea of sort of long form rhythms. And I've tried this a little bit before, but I kind of dabbled a bit and didn't go into it too deep. So what I mean by a long form rhythm is normally when I create a beat, and the background track you folks were hearing at the beginning of the stream was kind of an example, is where I do like a 1 or 2 measure rhythm and then just repeat that over and over again for the beat. And then I'll do things like layer on additional instruments to the one track for the rhythm, and then add things in like bass lines or synth effects or additional effects on the other tracks. Again, the 505 has 5 separate tracks, but you can overdub additional sounds and layer things, I think, infinitely onto one if you want to. I've never tested to see how many times you can overdub, but I've never seen it not do that and hit a limit. And so if you think about it, just a sort of demo, if I were to do like just a simple beat like we did before, like let's see, this is not a perfect example because it doesn't loop cleanly, but this is kind of like a 1 measure rhythm that's just repeating over and over again. Again, it's not looping cleanly, but that's it. And it's just repeating over and over again. And I would do something like overdub different snares or whatnot, and I wanted to add to that one section that's just repeating over and over again. But a more long form rhythm might be something like 4 to 8 measures of a rhythm with maybe a fill in between, and then that whole section repeats. And so you're dealing with a much longer, prolonged rhythm that's more complicated and gives you some more flexibility to be able to play around with the different things in there and, you know, slot other sounds on the other tracks that are not connected to that rhythm track. And you could choose like a sound that's going to only come in during a fill before it transitions to the loop part. Or you only want it to be like a bass line that goes for half of that overall rhythm and maybe stops and then starts up again before it cycles all the way back and repeats. And so the point of doing that is to give yourself more room to mess around with things instead of just like a two measure section of the rhythm and it's just kind of a short thing. And so I want to experiment around with recording out something that's going to go for a long stretch of measures and then repeat, and then see what we can sort of do as far as adding in other things in between. And last night I was kicking around some ideas for a beat, and I want to do something that's kind of like a faster pace, almost like a rock beat, I guess. You could maybe call it either a rock beat or potentially a drum and bass beat. But the point would be to have it run out through several measures and then have a fill section that sort of becomes the tail and repeats the other start. And I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about so you folks can see. So if we're thinking about something like more of a driven rock-ish type beat, I was thinking something that sounds kind of like that's the main rhythm. But at certain breaks after it repeats, it's going to have a slight switch. Then it goes back to the original, and the end would have a fill or sequence of rhythm hits. That's what a fill is like on a drum set before it repeats back and the loop ends. So let me try and see if I can accurately demonstrate what I'm talking about. And then once I get it to successfully loop, I'll play it back and show you folks kind of what the whole thing sounds like. And this will be an experiment. So here, I'll do it without having the loop on first, just to demonstrate the rhythm in my head. And this whole section is just what I want to capture and repeat if I can get it to execute correctly. So the whole thing would sound like and then right where it stops is where it would switch back and repeat from the beginning. So it's kind of simple. I'm going to probably mix up a couple things in between before you get to the end, but it's a constant rhythm, a couple switches, and then it has the that's the fill at the end, and it switches, and then it's going to repeat back to the beginning if I can get it to loop correctly. Naked Snake says, the more you're explaining this, it reminds me of more of Devil May Cry style switching. That's a similar idea, but we're not going to be messing with tempo for this exercise, at least not this one specifically, because it's going to be looping continuous sections back just over and over again. Doing a tempo switch would be difficult because if I had, let's say, a fast part and then a slow part and I recorded that, then it would basically alternate fast part, slow part, fast part, slow part infinitely as it repeats, which would be really weird for a beat. It would kind of make it difficult to sort of organize the loop because, again, your rhythm is going to switch every however many measures before you switch the tempo. Conversely, a way to do it with the loop station would be to have two different types of rhythms on two separate files. Because one thing you can do sort of in real time is switch between one file and another and just start the playback. And so you could record a quick like drum and bass rhythm and set up on one and then switch to another one and then start the playback on that, but that would be difficult. I don't think loopers actively do that when they're performing, but you could. So let's see if we can get this thing recorded and then see if we have this long extended rhythm captured in the loop station and see how it works when it comes to building on the idea of the long rhythm and how we're going to add things to it like bass and synth sounds and everything else. So this is most likely going to take a couple tries. Let's see if we can get it recorded and then see what options we have from there. So let me see. I can't really breathe when doing this whole recorded session because then the breath is going to be recorded on the loop. So I have to take kind of a big breath at the beginning and do the whole thing in one stream of air. So let's see if we can do it. And we'll do it on loop 1. Let's see if we can get it to go. All right. Sarlad says, later, everyone. Phone is dead. All right, Sarlad. Take it easy, man. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us till your phone died. I will catch you later. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend. All right. So looking at the loop itself, I made one slight error on the tail right after the fill, and it caused the whole thing to not start exactly on beat. But everything else in there recorded fine. So I think the idea is going to work. I just need to get the beat right on the fill. Because I think I added an extra beat at the end. We can listen to it and see. Yeah, I had an extra beat. I think it needs to go and then stop on one and then do like a half beat rest and then start again. So that's going to be tricky, but I think I can get it. Let's try again. Yeah, I think that one was close, but still, I think I started the tail too soon because it's still kind of overlapping at the end. Let's see if we can do a shorter version to make sure I get the timing right before we commit to recording a long one. So if we were going, that's too long of a pause. And that one was staggered by a half beat. Let's see if it's going. Oh, I think there's an extra beat in there. That might be why. So instead it should go and then not have the final one at the end that I've been doing, because it's essentially staggering into the beat of the repeat where it starts the whole thing over again. I didn't think about that. Let's see if that works. Yep, that's exactly why. Okay. Now I need to try and do the long drawn out rhythm and remember that I need to essentially end it one beat sooner, because the extra one's causing the tail to basically double up and overlap into the start of the beginning, and that's why it's not looping cleanly. All right, let's see if we can get that to go. Let me make sure I can hear. Let's try it. All right. I had to listen to that carefully to make sure it was looping. I'm just listening to the playback for a sec. All right, I think it worked. I thought that was going to take at least 2 more tries. Let me put this down a little bit. Let me know if you can't hear the beat over me explaining things. Edward or Naked Snake says, "Did you learn how to do this from Parappa the Rappa?" No, I learned how to do the loop station stuff from watching tutorials. I'm still learning. I consider myself very much a beginner when it comes to using this particular piece of hardware, but I want to get better, and because this thing is incredibly powerful. All right, let me save this. That's really, really important. We don't want to lose that rhythm, because getting it to record cleanly was kind of a challenge. So now that we have the bass rhythm recorded and it's a long section, we can do things like take the loop, play it back, and overdub things on if we want to add to it. So if I wanted to add additional snares at some point in that long drawn out series of rhythms, I could. In fact, it'd be difficult, but I could add a sharper hit snare onto every snare that was in the original. I would just have to basically listen to it and overdub it, like, was it 20 times or so, and make sure it's exactly on the hit. Otherwise it would like be staggered and sound weird. So to demonstrate what that would sound like, if we go overdub, and that's really difficult to do. I don't think I'd want to do it that way if I was actively trying to build out the rhythm, because it's so drawn out that getting the snare to hit exactly in time while I'm listening to it in overdub would be difficult. I could do it if I practiced enough, but the idea that I would get every single hit in line is not likely. Unfortunately, we can just turn that off. Using undo redo, we can wipe off the top overdub that we just did, and it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. But to illustrate why I wanted to experiment with a long form rhythm for this particular BGM track, as I'm just going to let it play in the background here. If we were to take the whole thing and start recording a new track, and we wanted to add just one thing at some point in the middle of this whole rhythm, like just for example, we wanted to add like a whistle shot, and it's like a, but it happens right in the middle at some point, then we could record a loop that does that and just wait for the point in the rhythm we want and do the sound, and then let it just play in silence till the end. And then when we play it back, it's going to be silence until that point, then it'll play the whistle shot sound, and that's it. And the advantage of doing that is if we wanted to have it be like something that plays after the rhythm repeats a certain amount of times, we could do it. And it's just there because we have that whole stretch of recorded section to work with. So I can kind of demonstrate that. Let's do this. I don't know if you folks could hear that on the playback. But basically, in the middle somewhere, we have that whistle shot, and it's always gonna be kind of be there in the beat, which is not something I'm gonna keep, but it's an interesting idea. Likewise, another thing we can do with the way Loop Station works is if we wanted to have a short section on a new track that repeats faster because it's just a small snippet instead of this long drawn out rhythm, we could do that by just recording it and then cutting it off. So it's cycling everything rapid fire, and that's something I want to experiment with today. Naked Snake says, "Okay, dude, I gotta go. Good luck with the stream." All right, Snake. Thanks for tuning in, man. I really appreciate you coming and hanging out. And I hope that you have a good rest of your day. So I will catch you later in the next stream. Or on Wazzy's. I'll be sitting in on her stream later. So I'll catch you later, dude. So if we think of the idea of, let me stop the background rhythm. A small snippet section that repeats over and over again. If you just take something in the loop, record it, and then stop the recording, it'll loop just that snippet over and over again, as opposed to recording it and letting it wait out for a whole measure or something else. So as a result, if I did something like a dry lip roll and then stop the recording right after that, it would just go over and over again, which is kind of a neat idea. And I kind of wanted to see if I can take the drawn out rhythm and then take like a background looping quick dry lip roll as like a synth, like a reverberating synth thing in the background. So let's see. In fact, I can demonstrate it here. So that's what it sounds like, just doing the one and then cutting it off. It's repeating the whole thing over and over again. And I don't know if that's on time with what I just recorded for the rhythm. We can try it. I think it's too fast. Yeah, ideally I'd want to record it at the same time as the actual rhythm, make sure that the lip roll was, in time with the beat itself. So let's see if we can do that. So this is what I was talking about as far as having things kind of going at different tempos, but still sort of sync to the same basic beat, if that makes sense. And likewise, if we wanted to take something else and do, again, that fast snippet and record it under everything else, like, it's pretty simple to sort of pair and combine as long as you're paying attention to the rhythm and it's not out of sync as far as the tempo. And what I mean by that, it was if we wanted to take something and like another type of lip roll and combine it with what we've done so far, something like a super high pitched or high frequency tight lip roll. Again, I don't know if it has an official name because I've never asked anybody. But if we wanted to take something like a and then pair it, we could, but getting it to line up might be difficult. I can see if I can get it to work here. See if I can get it to loop cleanly. It's a little bit hard to hear. I think doing it that fast would be difficult. I might have to do the sound before I start recording and then cut it off since it's so quick. Let me try that. Yeah, that might be pushing it just because of the speed. But thinking of what we recorded so far with just the basic rhythm and the dry lip roll continuous loop thing, we could do things like take the track level effects, and let me see, let me make sure it's on. And if we tried to set up something like a drop with beat repeat, doing so would sound something like this. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. I think it's because the section of the rhythm is so long. Yeah, if we go 50% with beat repeat, depending on where we set it to repeat in the overall big, long rhythm, then we get a different snippet that's being repeated over and over again, which is interesting. So if we do it just somewhere in the middle where it's the same drum line being repeated over and over again, it sounds like... sounds like this, and then the looped lip roll synth part, because it's more rapid, doesn't really change. But if we go higher than 50%, then it takes the looped part of the rhythm and loops it to just the kicks. And then if we go higher than that, then it changes the actual synth. So that's really interesting. And if we take the beat repeat and we capture it at the very end where it has the rapid drum fill part, then it's even more different. This is what that part looped and repeated in one small snippet sounds like at 50%. Going up to about 70-ish, 65%. Then it sounds like a kind of like a staggered offset beat. And if we go to 75, then here's your drop. Scatter, I think there's too much rhythm variance for it to really be effective. Scatter doesn't do much. I think if we're going to do anything with the beat manipulation effects at the track level, going for beat repeat is probably the best idea there. And then note, when we come out of the track level effects with the repeat, I believe it's going back to wherever it left off in the long drawn out rhythm. It's not starting over when I come out of that beat repeat. So if we go, then I believe it's just starting off wherever it left off in the recording, which is also interesting. All right. Take off the synth line. In fact, I'm gonna save that too. What I want to do now is work on getting a bass line recorded on the third track that we can have looping in the background. And I'm thinking we do something like, not an arpeggio. It's kind of more a bass line that note-wise is kind of like a descending one. I don't know music terminology proper, but I think I want to try and do it in guitar to bass, and then see if I can get more of a looping, like 4-note thing going high to low. And let's see if we can get it to loop in time with the main rhythm and get it to sync up with everything. And then we'll combine it with the lip roll fast synth thing at the same time. So basically this will be the third track of 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to guitar to bass and start messing around with the note progression, and then we'll see if we can get it to line up and then see how it sounds. So let me turn the rhythm back on. I'm going to leave the lip roll synth line off for the moment. So let's see. All right, let me turn dynamics back on so I can actually talk again. So the bass line that I recorded, this was the rhythm I was looking for. The note progression is about where I was thinking too, but in recording it sounds a lot more aggressive than I originally thought. And I think it has to do with the fact that it's combining just a low note progression with a bass line effect under it. So instead of sounding like just a regular kind of driving bass line, it sounds like something is like actively chasing you to me, which is kind of an interesting effect. Not entirely what I was going for. But if we combine it with the lip roll, let's see what it sounds like. And I'm thinking purely from a note-wise perspective. Well, I don't think it's necessarily way off key, because the lip roll itself is kind of low as well. I think it's within the same register as far as the notes on the bass line and the lip roll. But this combination of sounds stresses me out a little bit. Edward says, I'm thinking the pitch should descend every 4 notes instead of every note. So are you thinking the pitch should be repeated notes every 4 and then descend, or are you thinking like half notes where it's drawn out? Like, just for example, are you thinking like 4/8 notes and then it drops down, Edward? Because that's something that I can try and see how different it sounds. So Edward says the first one, so like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and each time it starts over, it's dropping down, going from like a mid-range note to the lower one. Is that what you're saying? Just so I make sure I'm understanding. Okay. Yeah, I think I hear you. So let's do this. Let's create it on another one as an alternate. So it's 4 notes going down 4 times, or yeah, 4 sections going down 4 times instead of continuously. Okay, I think I got it. So let me go back to guitar to bass. All right, I think that's the notes I want, but I need to get it to record a little bit cleaner in order for it to sound good. So let me try that. Also, I think the level of bass that I have enabled is causing it to get muddy, so I'm going to try and turn it down and try and get the actual distinct 8th notes. Or is it 8th notes? 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Yeah, either 8th or I don't think it's 16th notes. But yeah, let me turn guitar to bass down a little bit and try and get each of the 4 to hit cleanly. What I did, building on Edward's idea, I added a half note on the front just to give myself an easier place to start for the loop, which I know wasn't exactly what you're talking about. So instead of going 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, it goes like 1 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1. So it's got a slightly extended first part, and then it goes in order going down. It makes it a little bit easier for me to start the recording and then loop it. So it's not a one-for-one recreation of what Edward suggested, but it's close. All right, let's turn that off. And if we compare it to the one we just did, you know, it might not be too bad of an idea to have two different bass lines and have a switch up in at some point in the actual track. Because I think it's the same notes. It's just different rhythms. That's close. The new one, the second one might start a little higher up by like a half step. But it's not out of key. It's not a different key. So we could have a part of the song where maybe for a first half it uses this first bass line, and then at some point it switches. Kind of like that. Like maybe after 2 repeats and after the fill, then it switches over. I like the idea of doing that. I think that'd be kind of neat since I've never really done something like that for one of these BGMs so far. And then maybe we have the lip roll synth part coming in and out as sort of like an effect as opposed to over the whole track. All right, let's see what the track level effects do to the bass line now. This is what Slicer turned on. Creates an interesting sort of kind of staggered effect. I don't know if I would keep that on for like a final version. I was curious if the ring modulator could be used to do an effect that causes it to kind of step down in the same order, but it doesn't really apply the distortion the same way. So I can't take the knob and then just step it down half a step to do the same thing like the bass line's doing. But it'd be kind of neat if I could find a way to do that. What we could also use to create kind of like a frequency distortion if we wanted to. I feel like I've done that on a couple tracks already though, so I don't know if I really want to do that for this one. This is lo-fi, giving the whole thing kind of like a fuzz type noise. Oh, interesting. If you turn lo-fi up to about 100%, the only thing that remains is the bass line, and because it's applying that distortion so heavily, you lose the beat. The beat just drops out completely. Interesting effect. Yeah, that's flanger. Phaser. These are a lot more subtle effects. Filter, which we've used on a bunch of things. If we wanted to create a sort of muted type sound over the whole thing just temporarily, we could use filter. Oh, interesting. If you turn filter up to about 50-60%, it creates almost like a breakdown section. It's the same rhythm. The rhythm doesn't change, but because of the heavy muffled distortion over everything, then it kind of sounds like that really short instrumental break you hear in electronic songs, where there'll be like kind of a consistent rhythm and then it'll sort of cut out and turn into kind of like a really muted breakdown, and then it goes back into wherever the rhythm as like a transition, and it's kind of a neat effect. I didn't even think to try that for this. We could even make it so that, let's see, we could make that as a transition to a switch in the main bass line. So if we were going, oh man, turning that filter effect on and off and then switching the bass from track 4 to track 3 would be really difficult to do, because I have to hit a bunch of buttons in order to do that. Let me see. Let me see if I can do it right. That's what it would sound like. Basically, I have to hit filter, and then I have to stop and start on the alternate bass lines right as I turn filter off, so that it comes out of the transition to the new sound, which is not impossible. I could do it. I just didn't, but it's really tricky. Let me see if I can demonstrate that again. Yeah, not impossible. I just have to have my fingers over the buttons and then be ready to push them in the right order. Let's try it again. You could even have something like the filter breakdown transition for an extended amount of time and then just come off instead of changing the bass line. Edward says the lip roll is a bit high compared to the rest of it. You mean volume wise or pitch wise? Because pitch wise, it's maybe. Let me see. Like 1 or 2 steps higher than where this particular variation goes. It's close. Oh, volume? Yeah, problem is I can't really drop it down too much more. Actually, I can. Can't do it on the fader, but I can do it at the individual track level. Let me do that real quick. There. Now it's dropped down lower, and I can boost it with the fader if I want. I agree that it needs to be not the most dominant sound you're hearing because it's more of an effect. Yeah, this is an interesting combination of sounds. This one sounds pretty different from a lot of the other ones that we've worked on so far. All right, let's go ahead and turn that off so I can focus my thoughts here. So thinking about the progression of sounds that we put together for this one, I like the idea of for taking the whole thing and treating it like a performance for the actual recorded final version. I like the idea of starting with just the empty rhythm by itself and then maybe cutting the lip roll in and out for maybe 1 or 2 measures just as sort of a hint that it's an effect, but not leaving it on the whole time. And then once it goes into the fill repeat 1 time, after the repeat, or after the fill and it repeats, then we bring in a bass line. And I'm thinking we bring in the one that Edward suggested first, and then look at doing a filter transition after we let it run for a bit into the alternate version. The problem is where to put the transition, because we could do it after the fill, but it's going to be a little more difficult to time. So let's see. If we were to play out like a rough draft version of the actual performance of the song, then it might be something like. We could even do something like switching back and forth every couple measures between the 2 different bass lines. And the neat thing about having the extended rhythm is the fill gives us a perfect point to transition between the 2. Like without the filter, just with the fill that loops at the end of the main rhythm, we can tie the switches directly to that, which makes it much easier. I'm just going back and forth. switch. Here's an interesting part of the beat repeat with the first couple notes of the descending bass line. We could turn it into a drop if we really wanted to. And do something like that. I don't know if I necessarily want to do that, since it'd be similar to the drops we've done in other songs. But yeah, I think that's pretty functional. I like that. It's very different from the other ones we've done so far, but interesting to know that you can take something like the extended rhythm, and then it gives you a lot more options to sort of play around with stuff in between and do things like transitions a little more cleanly without having to think in your head how many beats or measures before you need to do something like that. Oh, what happens if you reverse a lip roll? Oh, interesting. Listen to that. Sounds kind of like a video game noise, like an 8-bit, like kind of like a bit crush sound. Interesting effect. I don't know if I'd necessarily keep it on because I think the progression makes it sound a little bit weird. If we turn this off, what happens if we reverse the main rhythm? Yeah, that makes sense. Basically sounds like it's record scratched and reversed, because that's the reverse effect. Turning reverse effect on the descending bass line obviously just flips it around and makes it go upwards instead of downwards. Yeah, I don't know if I like the way that sounds. But the alternate bass line. Yeah, that sounds kind of weird. Edward says Pac-Man in a mosh pit. Yeah, that is kind of what it sounds like. You picture Pac-Man jumping up and down, pushing people over. I like the idea of keeping the lip roll sort of subdued and in the background so it's not overpowering. Like, we wouldn't want it all the way up here. It'd be all you hear. Alright, I think I have a rough idea of how I want to structure the final version of this. I like the idea of doing these filter transitions and switching between the two bass lines. So here's a real question for those in the chat that are listening. What do we want to call this thing? I'm kind of thinking some idea that plays off the idea of kind of the constant and up-tempo rhythm. Wazzy says, Pac-Man in a mosh pit. I'm not putting a copyrighted character name in my song titles. That's asking for trouble. Edward says, something about going downward, I think, in reference to the bass line and how the bass line descends. I like the idea of emphasizing the descending bass line. It's not the only part of the song though, because we have two different ones. But it is kind of a sweet combination of effects that I've never heard before. We could call it sugar going down because it's sweet. Lion Tamer says Mac Pen in a poshment. That's too long of a title, but I do think that's funny. All right, let's see. I like the idea of descent or downward. Lion Tamer says, call it Wazzy Eats Pineapple. As funny as that would be, we do want to have a title that's sort of reflective of the different traits of the track itself. Let's see. We could kind of go with the idea of the descending bass line, but also keeping the idea of the alternate version. Let me switch here. Which is kind of more of a circular, or to me it sounds like kind of like a cyclical type of sound, because it's not just going in one direction. Instead, it's kind of cycling around. We could call it downward spiral. I don't know. Is that too edgy? You folks tell me what you think. One thing I've been doing, I spent a lot of time recording a bunch of our older tracks last week. If I have time between now and the next jam session, I want to do another chunk of songs that are from Stream Sounds and the BGM tracks that we've done together here on stream. But coming up with names for some of the Stream Sounds that are not usually named, that's been kind of a challenge. So I tend to kind of go whatever makes sense, because I can look at the footage for stuff we've named, and that's fine. Edward says downward spiral, like the Danny Brown song. I think it fits. Is that actually the name of the Danny Brown song? Because I wouldn't want to call something that could be confused with someone else's title just because it would be confusing. I'm not worried about like a copyright deal, because you can't copyright the word downward spiral. But if that's the exact name, maybe we can do some kind of a spin on that idea. I don't know Danny Brown's music, so I'm gonna rely on Edward to give me an accurate reference there. We can call it descending spiral. That'll give us a distinct name, and also works in the ideas that Wazzy was suggesting too. Or we could flip it around. I'm not necessarily married to the idea that it has to be in that order. We call it spiral descent. What do you folks think of that? I think that's kind of a neat twist on all the things we've suggested so far. and it sounds cool. Edward says Amnesia, The Dark Descent. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to avoid sounding too much like something that exists. But what if we call it Spiral Descent? That definitely seems to apply to the alternate version of the bass line. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that for now. I'll think about it, since I can always change things in post when I'm actually recording these. Nine Tamer says Loopy Fall. That sounds a lot like something I've created in another life. When I was first learning how to create music a long time ago, and you folks are never going to see that stuff, but I had a song that was very similar to what Lion Tamer's suggesting. All right. Let's go ahead and pause this. Let me save my work. What I'll do is I'll take the suggestions we have in the chat here, and I'll wait till I record the final version of this particular track and see what fits the most, and then I'll name it accordingly. But it'll be something with the descent and spiral themes. You know, we'll see what materializes with that. But we can go ahead and move on. Let me see if I can figure out which track I saved one of our old work in progress ones on. Let's see. I think it was 67. Bear with me, my sound settings might change slightly if I had my dynamics set differently on these tracks. 6? That's loud. I gotta drop that track level down. No, this is something we did on Stream Sounds, I think. I think I already recorded this one. Let's see. I'm stepping back through the saved tracks on my loop here. I'd have to go back and listen to the last stream we did, which I could do. I don't think you folks are going to be able to hear it. That's one thing I wanted to test. Let's see. If I go to YouTube, go to the last jam stream we did, which was number 18, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Yeah, okay. Because I changed the way my loop input setting works, hooked up to my PC, I made it so that if I play stuff on my computer, you can't hear it because it's not feeding back into my loop. Which means if I want to sample things that I'm playing off my PC, I have to toggle that setting back on. But it also means I can do stuff like pull up a YouTube video and watch it, and you folks won't hear what I'm doing because it's not coming from the loop. The only way you'd hear it would be if I turn on the desktop noise or desktop audio, which is muted at the moment. So let me see. Let's see if we can figure out what we're working on. Oh, I remember the one we were working on. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I think we saved that one. It was the one that had like the alarm siren ringtone on it. Let me figure out where that I even saved that, but I'm pretty sure we finished that one. Let's see. Hmm. This one with the trumpet? I know we did at some point, but I don't remember when. It's on my list to record. Edward says Space Wake Up. That's the one I'm thinking of, yeah. I don't remember where I put it, but it's in here somewhere. I know there was another one we worked on a long time ago, but I don't remember where I saved it, which is my fault for not writing it down. Oh, let me listen to the end of the stream, see if we started another one. Yeah, this is February 20th jam stream, or February 19th, posted on YouTube on the 20th. The one from that one that came out of the session was Space Wake Up. And that one's in here somewhere. I know because I was looking at it not too long ago. But I cannot remember where. Let me look back a little bit further. The problem with my loop station is because I've recorded so much on here and gone back and deleted a bunch of old, garbage stuff that's not going to be used for anything. It creates holes in the file structure, so I can record in a blank one just if I'm scrolling through it. But then everything is kind of out of chronological order, so I never remember what I recorded where. I have to go back and look at the content and look at what song or track we were working on and then figure out where I put it. It's not a good system. And I could name things. Maybe I should do that in the future. That way I know where it is by title, since each track that saves on the loop, the master track, not the specific tracks on the actual song, you can change the title, and that makes it pretty easy. But let me see. What's 65? Oh, this is definitely stream sound. That is a little bit loud. Here's one we were working on, but didn't this one... We took this one and altered it later, I think. Was it? Nope. I was just looking at it. Where was it? 59? All right. At some point, I'm going to have to go back into the archives, figure out where all the stuff was that's unfinished, and maybe dedicate a stream to digging up those ones. I should have done it in advance, but I wanted to work on the drawn out rhythm idea first, since that was more relevant. But that's okay. We will jump over to a new track, and let's see if we can come up with one more before we wrap up for today. So let me see. 75 should be the one we were just working on. Yeah. headphones are caught in my chair. All right, we'll copy these settings into a new track, and now we can start messing around with some ideas from scratch. So let's do something a little bit different than the way we started off the last one, just to switch things up on the stream today. While I'm copying everything over and clearing off all the settings, somebody who's listening just toss out a genre. Some sort of easy to kind of define genre for a song, and let's see if we can construct a BGM track around that. Like, don't give me something weird like polka, I was gonna say, because I don't know how to do like an accordion sound on here. Let me see. We'll go write this onto track 76. Wazzy says emo. I'm thinking a little bit more broad than like a subgenre, because again, like rock versus electronic versus jazz, something like that. That's what I'm talking about, because the last one we did was kind of rock adjacent, but it's a little bit difficult to take that and do like emo as a subgenre of, you know, what I'm saying is that makes it a little bit more difficult, because I don't have access to things like guitars and whatnot. Edward says R&B. Wazzy says metal, death metal. One thing I'm trying to figure out how to do with the loop station, and I was talking to my beatbox teacher and picking his brain for ideas about how to duplicate styles using the tools on the loop station. And one thing I asked him about was like a heavy hard rock or metal sound, because there isn't really a guitar sound in beatboxing. Here, let me clear all this stuff off. There's definitely a way to do it using the tools on the loop station, but I haven't figured out how yet, because trying to create that sort of heavy, distorted, like guitar riff noise you'd hear in something like a, you know, like a Disturbed song, or something faster, like maybe like an Avenged Sevenfold song. I'd like to be able to do that, but I haven't figured out the presets that'll give me that sort of sound, which is the tricky thing. Sourlat says, hello again, friends. Hey, what's up, Sour? Welcome back to the stream. I'm assuming your phone is plugged in now and no longer dead. I see the other suggestions. Wazzy tossed out French travel video, YouTube murder video background track. So it's funny, YouTube murder video background track, that sounds to me like kind of a horror ambient type sound, something with a lot of, like, it'd be slow. And so if we take all the different suggestions and we look at that one specifically, it'd be something kind of slow and ambient with like kind of ominous music, right? It would be, you could have like certain melody type sounds in the background, but the whole point would be to kind of set like an unsettling, mysterious, or foreboding aura. And I kind of like the idea of taking on that challenge, because most of the other genre stuff I do is pretty straightforward. You have things like, you know, the one we just did, which is kind of like a rock-ish rhythm. Do a lot of hip-hop stuff. We've done some trip-hop adjacent things, some sort of jazzy bossa nova things. But what I did for the Halloween collection that I did, the Revenant's Beats, was experiment with creating kind of more ambient and weird combinations of sounds. And that's really in line with what Wazzy's saying for the YouTube murder video background track. Edward says, sounds like Wazzy wants a soundtrack to her snuff film. It's possible. I'm not going to ask, and personally, I don't want to know the answer. But the idea of creating something ambient and kind of creepy and foreboding, I think that's going to be a good challenge. So let's run with that idea and see what we can come up with using the tools that I do know here on the loop station. And maybe we can take that sound and, depending on what the product is, when we finish everything, we can either have it be standalone, or maybe we can put it on the list for next year's Halloween collection. Because I do want to do one of those every year. It's difficult because they're very outside my wheelhouse as far as sound, but working on the Revenant's beats was a lot of fun. I know we worked on some of them on stream here too, but it's just an interesting experiment. So let's see. Let's set up a rhythm for our murder video background track. It's got to be kind of a more slow. It can't be like a real fast, like club type sound, obviously. But let's think of things like snares to use. We could do like a breathy inwards K, regular inwards K that I normally use. Sounds like pretty quick hit, really sharp. But we could make it more of a breathy inwards K that has a sort of a prolonged inhale after it. So like, so you still have the hit, the percussive hit, but instead of cutting it off, it's more of a. So let's see, we could do maybe something like a. I'm thinking of how to structure the kicks. Let's play around with some ideas. Something like. Let me see if I can get that recorded and play it back and see what it sounds like. Whoop. Lion Tamer says, "Is persona mental state a music genre?" Oh, not persona? Is a person's mental state a music genre? Sorry, I can't read apparently. A mental state can maybe thematically inform a music genre. Like obviously, if you're really stressed out or in a state of fear or anxiety, that would inform kind of themes in a song, like an anxiety type beat in, as a joke. But you definitely could make something that sounds, like anxiety. I don't really want to do that here because I don't want to stress anybody out. But yeah, you definitely could work elements of something like that into a song. So what we've got here, let's continue to experiment around with sounds. We have a real simple, kind of slower beat with, again, the breathy inwards K snare. But what if we add some more ambient noises on another track? Like, I was thinking an echo delay click that sounds like it's sort of echoing, maybe off of kind of like a stone walkway or like a stone path. Not necessarily footsteps because it wouldn't be heavy, but let me show you what I'm talking about. We take delay, we put delay on. Let's see, let me turn that off. Edward says, "Is this looping properly?" Let me listen to it closer. I think it's looping properly. It's just kind of an irregular rhythm and it's a lot slower. Let me listen to it here. Let me start from the beginning and listen to it loop. I think it's looping properly. So just for clarification, it's a 2 repeat. So it sounds a little bit weird, but after the second snare is when it repeats. And as far as I can tell, the tail on the loop is consistent, and there's no break in it. It's just because it's such a slow, sort of irregular rhythm. I think that's why it sounds weird. It also only has hats in like the middle. It doesn't have hats throughout, which is not normally something I do, but I added 2 hat hits right in the middle of the repeat before the whole thing loops. But for the delay, here's what I was talking about. If I turn the delay effect on and do a click, then that's the echoing effect you get. Let me see if I can go a little lower. It's kind of going for like an echoing sound. I think I got the rhythm wrong on it, but it also sort of sounds like a ticking clock, which I've already done on one of my other tracks before. So I don't want to just do like a rehash of a ticking clock. Let's see. We could do panning delay. Panning delay takes that echoing delay effect and moves it around in the direction. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it on stream with the way the audio broadcasts, but it's basically like taking the sound and moving around the listener, so it sounds like it's coming from different directions. So if we turn on panning delay, then what you hear is like a reverb, but it's alternating left and right. So in my headphones, it sounds like my voice is alternating the sides of my earphones, left and right. Let's see if we can do something with that rhythmic noise to make it sound like there's something kind of in the background, sort of tapping. And I think that'll be interesting if I can get it to work properly. Edward says it's mono in my headphones. I think because of the way the sound broadcast is set up. Let me check my settings. I think I have to set it to mono or it gets really weird with the loop. Let me double check. I think it's my Scarlett that I have to set it to mono for. Let me try and take it off. And then you folks tell me if you can hear the panning. I can't tell any difference in what's playing back in my headphones. But if I just uncheck this thing in OBS, can you hear it moving around now? Okay, that's why. I will leave mono on and just make it so I'm not having to constantly switch my settings. Otherwise, I'll forget. And then if I leave it on when I'm using my Scarlett, it's going to completely screw with the sound. And I don't want to do that for a stream. But that's good to know. So the echoing right now, it's panning between left and right. But let's think of some other things we could potentially add. I was thinking of adding like a wind sound effect, like like a wind blowing, just kind of like a shh. But if we add something like the panning delay, then we can get it to sort of switch sides and also echo, which would sound really kind of weird and kind of ghostly almost. Let's see what that would sound like if we turn it back on. I think what I want to try and do is make it a little more prolonged. It's kind of short and it falls in the same rhythm as the first track, but I kind of want to have it go as like an extended type sound. So let me try and re-record that, and instead of just like a shh, go for like a shh, and see if the panning delay will make the whole thing sort of echo. I might have to change the settings on it. We'll see. For some reason, the first part of the effect is the loudest, and then it sort of tapers off. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Kind of sounds like a rustling breeze that's really close, and then you sort of walk away from it, so it sort of dies off in your ears as you're walking away. Sort of like wind blowing through leaves type sound, which it's not bad. I think I'm gonna take the clicking one off. But what I want to do now is work on a bass line. And I have an effect that I used on the Revenant's beats that I think I can also add here. And it's combining the guitar to bass, I think, with the chorus. Let me see what that sounds like. It should create kind of like a bass line, but sound like something is sort of singing with a human voice at the same time. But I haven't used that combination since those tracks. So let me see if I can get it to work. All right, this is what chorus sounds like by itself. If I turn it on, it sort of combines things a little bit. It kind of sounds like a demon voice when I do this, which is interesting. It's basically layering additional things on my voice. And I wonder if I can change the depth of it, what that does. Just if I talk normally, I can create more of a distortion. But it is good to know that if I ever wanted to create like a demon effect, like if I want to respond to something that somebody says in chat and curse your immortal soul for all eternity, I just have to push a button. That's good to know. But let's see if we can combine it with guitar to bass to create an actual bass line. doesn't sound dramatically different just with the combination of guitar to bass and the chorus. I think I might have done the chorus separately. I might have done chorus and delay, in fact. We could try and see what that sounds like. But let's come up with a bass line to put underneath this weird kind of ominous track. And then we'll worry about the sort of distorted, like, ghost wails. We'll see if we can combine something with that. But let's do a bass line first. I'm thinking in my mind, just in contrast to the one we did before, how I want to structure the rhythm and notes for the bass line. So I might just noodle around with a couple different progressions and see if I can get them to loop. And then we'll see what that sounds like and if we want to change anything. So I'm going to turn guitar to bass on and just mess around with some notes until I find something that sounds interesting, and then I'll try and record it. Let's see if I turn that off. Kind of like the way that sounds, but I want to time it a little bit better so that the drop part of the bass line isn't as off key or off tempo with the other parts of the main rhythm. Let me try that again. All right, let's put dynamics back on so I can talk again. Baseline level is kind of low, so I think I need to boost that a bit. Oh, I know why. Yeah, it's because I dropped the previous track down to 45. With the 3 tracks that we've got so far, we've got a slow, sort of methodical rhythm. and then we have a bass line that's got kind of a staggered rhythm that goes from high to low. And then in the background, we have sort of the rustling noise. Edward says, I think the descending part would sound good. It sounds good. The second half and the first half, you do the same thing, but ascending. So what you're saying is have like a 2-part bass line that goes up and then goes down. Is that what you're saying, Edward? So like the reverse? Let's see. That might be... Actually, it might exceed the length of the rhythm, but because they're not locked by measure per track, I don't think it would matter. I could still do a longer bass line than the rhythm. But I'd have to re-record it. So let me see if I can capture what Edward's saying. So basically what he's saying is it would go like do 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 do. That's what you're saying, right? So it's kind of like a mirrored version of the same progression, just low to high and then high to low, right? Okay, Edward's saying not really. Let me reread your comment. Descending part of song with the second half. First half, do the same thing but ascending. Are you talking about in the I guess it would, to clarify, if you're talking about a section of the part that I've recorded, let me keep it playing in the background. Or here, let me approach it from a different angle. Are you saying the same bass progression in the first half, but instead of going down, it's 2 notes down and then goes up? Is that what you're saying? Instead of starting low, going up, and then going up higher, it goes descending and then goes upwards in the first, and then a third note of the bass line, rather. Is that what you're saying? So I guess the question is, if we were to do 2 parts, would it start in the same place? Because that could be an interesting thing too. So it starts in the same 2 notes, but in the first half it goes 1, 2, and instead of going down, it goes up, and then it goes back and it goes 1, 2, and then it goes down. So it's the same notes, just the first half it goes up on the third note, and the second half it goes down on the third note. I could try and do something like that, but going higher, it'd be a little bit tougher for my range. I could definitely do it, but I don't know how clean it would sound. I wonder how many steps up I'd want to go if the third note of the first half went upwards. Edward, let me know if I'm kind of explaining what you're talking about, because I can read your comment in a couple different ways. And I think either could potentially make it sound interesting. I wonder if I just reverse the bass, what it sounds like. Yeah, that doesn't sound good reversed. Edward says, would one be higher than two or vice versa? You mean note one? So again, yeah, if we think of the bass line we've created as 3 notes right now, it goes 1, 2, 3. Note 1 is high, note 2 is lower than 1, and 3 is lower than both, but it's a significant drop. So it goes high, low, lower for the way I have it recorded right now. Sorry, let me turn that off. It goes 1, 2, 3, and then it's just going high to low across all of them. It's continuously going down, not single steps each time. But if you break it down into 3 notes for the rhythm, how you're suggesting it, just tell me which notes are higher or where it starts, and we'll see if I can duplicate it. It'd be nice if there was a way to just octave everything track by track. I can only do it at the, or input by input, but I can only do it at the master track level. Weird, the octave only sort of applies to the snare. I don't think I'm using octave, right? Edward says, so I'm thinking 2, 1 during those first 2 kicks, and then 1, 2 on the next 2. Let's see. Oh, I think I get it. I might have to try and interpret what you're saying. Hold on, let me stop this so I can think a little bit. You're thinking 2, 1 during the first 2 kicks, and then 1, 2 on the next 2. So let's get the rhythm just by itself. So same notes, right? You're saying the same 1, 2 notes, but during the first 2 kicks, it's going 1, 2, and then the next 2 it's going 1, 2. So it's going high to low, low to high, but separated by the kicks. Is that what you're saying? So it's only 2 notes. Oh, the reverse of that? So low to high and then high to low, just 2 notes on the kicks. Robert says I'm getting confused. It's okay, man. Fortunately, I have everything captured here, so we just need to break it down from like a section by section comparison. Because again, if we listen to the rhythm I've got now and break it down, it's 1, 2, 3, and it's 1, 2, 3. So 1 is the highest, 2's lower, and 3's lowest. So if you're talking about changing the rhythm, then we would have to change kind of the way we're notating it. and I guess the question would be, if we're talking about editing the way this first rhythm hits, because again, it's quarter note, whole note, and then another whole note. I'm really bad at music notation. My apologies. But then the low note is sustained too. It's almost the same. And then the lowest one sort of sustains. I think the other problem is there's, let's see, four kicks. Oh no, I think I see the problem. It's because it goes 1 2 16th note, 1 2, and then it repeats. It's a really kind of irregular rhythm. Yeah, all right, let me see if I can sort of explain. I don't know if this will help what Edward's talking about, but I'll try. So the problem with the rhythm I've set up is it's not like a steady, I don't know if you can hear me tapping, but it's not a steady beat, kind of like a 4/4. I don't even know what time signature it's in. Don't ask me about time signatures. But it's not constant. It goes like the kick itself goes. So the actual bass drum kick is kind of irregular and weird to structure around. Yeah, it goes. Is there two? No. It goes. And then it repeats. I'm trying to count the beats in my head to figure out I could do it while it's playing. Yeah, I don't know what time signature that's in. It could be like a really slow 4. Again, I'm really bad at time signatures. Someone with a music background could probably tell me. Edward says, I think the same notes that are playing, but short high note before the last long one. Okay, let's listen to it. Okay, all right. I think I'm following. So the third note, if we think about it as 4 notes now, before it drops down, are you thinking a high note that's the same as the first note or higher? So what I mean by that is it goes do do do. Are you talking about going like do 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 do? Like, I think I understand what you're saying. I just don't know where the note placement would go. So it would be like 1 2 3 4 or 1 2 3 4. Edward says a bit lower than the first one, so if it goes do 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 like that, like a half step above the second note. That sounds like what you're saying. So go like do 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 do. The question is how you were thinking about the duration. Edward says, "Yep, okay, all right. Well, we got it, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. All right. So that's the progression of notes. Do you have a preference on the duration? Because that's easy for me to re-record. I can do that, no problem. But what are you thinking for the progression? Because I can go 1 2 3 4, or I can go 1 2 3 4. So where do you want the sustained note there? If you're in the progression, what sounds natural to you? a sustain on the second or third note of the 4. All I need to do is know that, and I can create it. We can try both. We can try both and see what works better. I just put it on a new layer. We can do it on 4. Let's see, guitar to bass. So all right, I'm gonna turn guitar to bass on and then try and record an alternate version here, and we'll see if it works. If I do it on time. If I can do it on time, that'd be nice. All right, the way I'm trying to record it has the sustain on the second note still, and then it goes up and then down. I think my guitar to bass was too high, so it sounds really muddy and messy. So let me try and fix that. Edward says, I think the third and fourth should go with the kicks like the first two. Yeah, my timing is off on these. I'm just trying to get the notes placed right. But yeah, let me try and sync up the third and fourth with the kicks. It's still off time, but I'm also trying to get the right guitar to bass because it sounds really distorted. So I think I just have it up too high. So give me a second to try and fix that. Okay. I think the problem I'm running into, I gotta think about how I want to fix it. For the second two notes, the third and the fourth, I think I have to extend everything into the repeat of the rhythm. Because I can't go for the two fast kicks in the middle because it's too fast. Let me think about that. So what I mean by that problem, hold on. Let me turn dynamics on, trying to explain what I'm talking about. So the actual repeated rhythm is the two kicks, the first two kicks and then the two fast ones are part of the same measure of repeat. And I think you're with me, Edward, because I'm not talking about trying to sync up the third and fourth notes to like the double kick after the first two. But if I try and sync up notes 3 and 4 to the first two, I have to hold the second note longer or cut it off and wait till it repeats to sync it up to the first two, because it's the start of the measure again. And that's the problem with how I recorded this, because it's like a really long, irregular time signature. So let me try and think here. 1, 2, and then 3, 4 on the next measure. The reason why I was recording it staggered is because there's too long of a pause before the two initial kicks come in, because it's the next measure. And that's a bit of a problem for what we're talking about here. Let me see if I can figure it out. 1, 2. Yeah. I don't think there's a way to get it in the same measure as the kicks without waiting for it to repeat all the way back at the beginning, because there's such a huge pause between the fast kicks and then the start of the next measure, and that's because of how the measures are divided up. I could do that, but it's gonna sound like there's a big gap in between, because I have to wait for the two slow kicks to come back in on the next measure. I could do that. Let me see if I can get it to stretch over and just see what it sounds like. So I'm gonna go back to guitar to bass. So if I did that, then it's basically two different bass notes on the start of each measure. High to low, and then after the measure repeats, low, high. And that therein lies the problem about trying to put the progression that you're talking about in. All right. Edward says, how long is the loop? All right, I can answer that. So the loop itself, we can break it down here. All I have to do is just play it and watch it cycle. So it goes. It's the entire part that's looping is the part that goes. And that's it. And then there's a gap at the end, and then it starts over again. So just the. And then it loops. So if you listen to it playing continuously. Oh, no, I'm wrong. It's because the hats are in the middle. I forgot about that. All right, let me listen to it again. It's 2 measure repeat. So it goes. That should be it. Yep, that's it. 2 measure repeat. So the bass line we've recorded, which sounds like. The original one, that's just the 3 notes before it goes up on the 3rd note and becomes 4, is essentially a 2 measure. It's a 2 measure rhythm. So if you think of each part of the rhythm with the drums as being 2 measure repeat, the original one I did was 2 measures worth, which is why I'm saying taking the notes and adding them to the front it means you have to go into a whole new measure. And I think it becomes 4 measures total if you're doing that, which puts a huge gap in between. That's why it's tough. So I don't know how exactly to get it to sound, but it'd be like 4 measures total. 1, 2 on the front, then measure 2 and 3, and then notes 2 and 3 on the 4th measure. I think that's the only way to do it, the way I've recorded the loop here. So let's see. Let's play it. Let's play it back again. Yeah. So the way this is set up, I could add the 3rd note in between on the way it's recorded here, but it wouldn't be synced up to the kicks because the kicks are too far ahead in the recorded loop. I'm just listening to it play and thinking about how to potentially work around the problem. Let's see. Turn that off. The other problem is I think the 2nd repeat in the original recorded loop is not starting on the same beats as the first one, which is why it's so irregular. Let me listen to the repeat. Yeah, I think it. I don't think it starts on the same first note. I need to be careful about that when I record these because it makes doing these adjustments harder because it's not on a standard like 4/4 rhythm. If it was, then it'd be really easy to just move stuff around. But we went kind of abstract for this one. That's fine. Let's see if we can sort of Edward says, so the way you did it, it's a long note during the first measure and then the descent during the second one. Are you talking about in the one that's recorded now? Yes, I think that's right, Edward. The second note, here, let me make it louder. Yes. I think the way you've described it's accurate. So with just the 3 notes we have in the bass line here, the lower descent, or the third, the lowest note of the 3, it's in the 2nd measure. So we could add a note in front of it, but we can't add anything after because there's no measure left. Yeah, the lowest of the 3 notes goes all the way to the end of the 2nd measure, and then the whole thing repeats. So the way it's recorded, we could add something in between, but we can't extend it out and make the transition sync up with the kicks. It's got to be in between because of the way it's recorded. Yeah. I could try and record one that goes for 4 notes, but again, it's not going to sync up the way you originally described. But if I can get it to match this and just have a note, like a quarter note, or 8th note maybe, an 8th note in between the 3rd and 4th, that might be the best way we can do it. So I can try. close, but the rhythm is off slightly, so I'm trying to get it to record exactly here. Let me try that again. Ooh, that's a tricky rhythm. That's a tricky rhythm, man. I think I can get it. It just occurred to me that I could also just try and overdub an additional note on the original loop that we did and make my life a whole lot easier. So let me try and do that. Well, one thing I noticed is if I don't have the guitar to bass settings identical to where the original part I'm overdubbing was recorded, it is jarringly obvious that I'm trying to insert another note. So I don't know if there's going to be an easy way for us to replicate what we're talking about without just doing it completely from scratch and trying to get to sync. So let's plug in the original one that I had, since I can just load it without altering anything. And this is everything we've done so far. Again, we've been going back and forth on trying to get this bass line thing sorted out. Another thing we could do is see if we just do like a sustained bass line that's one note and have it run sort of underneath everything and take out the progression. We could see what that sounds like. I'm not going to delete the one that I created because I think even though it's not quite what Edward was talking about. It's still the most functional in its edited form because it syncs up with everything the closest. So let's see. We could do an alternate bass line. Let me see what it sounds like. I'm just going to do one note and try and get the whole thing to cut off so there's no break in the one note. Let's see if we can do it. You can tell my voice is starting to get tired because my ability to create a sustained pitch and not have it waver in and out of key is getting more difficult to pull off. But let's take a look. Because of the way the loop cuts off, I don't know if there's a way to make it just not have the slight break at the end because it's taking a section and it's looping it back on itself. If I can ever figure out how to make it so that it's cut off and there is no break, that would be really handy. But until then, sustained notes are going to sound kind of like this until I figure out how to fix it. Yeah, the single note is interesting. It's kind of more of like just a sustained hum in the background, like a droning noise almost. I don't think it necessarily fits, but I wanted to see what it sounded like. I think what I want to do is I'm going to continue to work on this one offline between now and when I actually record it for the BGM collection. I will see what I can do with the bass line and see if there's any ways I can tweak it. If not, then this will be the final version of the bass line, and I'll think of some other effects to sort of pair because we've got 2 extra tracks that are not being used. We've got the wind, we've got the bass line, and we've got the original rhythm. Well, I'll take a look and see what else I can add to this one. It's an interesting sound. Hopefully this is in line with what Wazzy was talking about. Could probably add some other things to give it a bit more of an ominous and kind of foreboding feel, but it's a good sort of jump off point for kind of a more atmospheric and eerie sound, kind of in line with the Revenant's Beats tracks. So this would definitely be a candidate for the next collection, I think. Maybe with some additional tweaks and effects. Maybe add some ghost like woo things in the background, which could be fun. In fact, if I just turn on reverb, you could do something like that. Again, not looped cleanly, but it almost sounds like a weird alternate version of Critical's Yeah Baby. I'll bet if I paired like chorus with reverb and did the same thing, I could create like a really like ghost type sound. That's funny. All right. That's really goofy, but a possibility for the future. All right, let's go ahead and save this. Also, before we wrap up, we should get a name on record. So folks that are listening to this exercise in experimenting, what do you think we should call this song? Again, it's not in its final form, obviously, but what are we thinking for a good thematic idea? Sourlad says, save reminder. Yes, I did just save. Thank you, Sourlad. Edward says foot lettuce. I'm not calling a song foot lettuce, Edward. Number 10. Burger King foot lettuce. Sourlad says Graveyard Zone. That's not bad. I think whatever I try and come up with for a final version of this is going to sound more kind of ominous and foreboding. I haven't figured out how, but I will work towards that end, since that was the whole premise of the song. I like Graveyard Zone. Sounds like a Sonic level, but instead of gotta go fast, it's zombies. What it really needs is, it needs kind of more of like a scraping ambient noise. That's what I was kind of going for with the reverb and the delay on the clicks, but it didn't really sound right. But what I should do is find some way to add in like that sound that the Grudge Ghost makes, that and then put like a reverb or an echo effect under it, so that it's like reverberating. Because I'm sure people want to listen to that. When you think about ambient noises and tracks to use for your content, I'm sure that sound effect is something everyone wants directly in their ear holes. But we'll see. I am going to have to start thinking of ideas for the next Halloween pack. Halloween is far away, but given my tendency to put things off, I need to start getting ideas together, so I'm not under the gun when I actually have to put stuff together for the season when it approaches. Let's keep this sort of in the background. Yeah, I think I will do it for today's jam stream session. I think the first one we created was definitely an interesting exercise in the long form rhythms. The second one has been more of a challenge. So thanks to the folks on stream and Edward for bearing with me as I try and work in the suggestions. I will tweak the final product a bit, and we'll see what the end results are. But yeah, this was interesting. I never know what these BGM brainstorming sessions are going to create, but that's part of the fun. So before we wrap up, let me see who is online. B Takahashi's online. He's playing Pokemon. Let us go and raid Mr. Takahashi. Let me do this. It'll take us to the outro. Sarlad says, fun stream, dude. See you next time. Yeah, it was definitely fun. Thanks to Sourlad, Edward, all the other folks who tuned in and stopped by. And also thanks for helping me test the channel points and redeems. I'm glad that stuff is working. We will continue to sort of tweak stuff with that. But yeah, this was a good time. So I will take us over to raid Mr. Takahashi, and I will see you folks in the next stream. So have yourselves a good evening.